kids up and my mom and my grandmother, and we all would go. And then one day our church had a book drive to collect books for orphans. And one of my only book I owned that was my favorite was Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. I love that book.
Oh,
I
it's so
read
great.
it 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I was debating so much. I'm like, I can't give this book up. It's my favorite. It's my only book. But I prayed about it, and I got to thinking some orphan needs this book. She needs to see the lessons that are in that book and the hope. And so I did. I donated the book, and I don't know how it happened, but that Christmas I got a brand new hardbound Louisa May Alcott Little Women book.
Aww.
In my favorite color of purple. I don't even know. I never did ask. Was it my mom? Was my dad? They didn't know I had the previous book. They didn't know I cared. And that was God's answered prayer. It just shows He cares about the little things.
He does care about the little things, and that's what's so incredible about our God. I love it, Linda. I'm sure you've had the same experience, to listen to a child's prayer. And, they pray about anything that concerns them. Anything. It can be the smallest or the biggest thing. And it is just so beautiful and so heartfelt. I love listening to a child pray to the Lord because they know that at that moment, God cares only for them and their need, whatever it is. And, and there's nothing too small or too big for Him. And that's that childlike belief that we need to remember, that it's the same God that hears our prayers because we are His children. I don't care how old we get. We are His children. And so our prayers can always be whatever they need to be. And He does care about little things too. I just love that. It's powerful.
Yes, and I've had many more prayers answered, but that was my very first experience. And thank you, Joyce, for what you do, for having 2 hours, because I love it.
Oh, well, God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And I love callers like Linda and Susan to call in and just share life with us. What about you? When was your first prayer that you remember being answered? And maybe it wasn't as a child. Maybe you were an adult. Or maybe you want to share a really more, maybe not your first one, but something like, wow, that was a huge answer to prayer. 571-2428, 571-CHAT. That's what we just kind of landed on today. Didn't really know where God would take me. I had some emails that I could have addressed. I have answered emails. And if you have a problem that I know some of you don't feel comfortable calling and talking on air about your problems, I understand that because you're afraid somebody might hear your voice and recognize it, or you are afraid of your control. Maybe you would break down and not be able to talk. I understand all those things. Maybe you feel like your issue is a little bit too much for air. Whatever it is, you write me. Just ask Joyce@gmail.com. Just ask Joyce@gmail.com, and let's work through some of those things. But I do love it when you call in and you share some of your life stories, because I can tell you everyone has a story for God's glory. Everyone. And I think it's important that we take time, like today, to just recall some of the times when He has answered our prayer, because it is also to His glory. And it's so powerful to someone who maybe doesn't have that same experience yet because they've never taken something to God, big or small. And they need to hear it. God does answer prayers, doesn't He? I know if you're listening today, someone has a prayer that's been answered and you're going to share it. 571-2428, 571-CHAT. Can't wait to hear who it's going to be.
WFIA, The Spirit.
Safety, safety, safety. I'm saying it 3 times. Studies show you need to hear something 3 times to remember it. So remember, safety, safety, safety is important to me, me, me. That's why I love Grainger. Grainger has the products to help keep our facilities safe and people safer. Say it with me, kid. Safety, safety, safety from Grainger, Grainger, Grainger. When you think safety, think Grainger. Get it? Got it? Good. Call clickgrainger.com/safety or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Connect with Southeast Christian Church in the Louisville area through our weekly Southeast TV broadcast, Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. on Wave 3. Episodes include powerful testimonies, community partner profiles, and messages from Pastors Dave Stone and Kyle Eidelman. We think you'll relate to the stories, be inspired by the teaching, and feel more connected to our community and to Jesus. We hope you will join us by tuning in Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. on Wave 3 for Southeast TV.
Did you know the federal government provides more than $150 billion a year in grants, loans, and work-study funds to make higher education possible for anyone? Completing the free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA, is the first step to getting your share, and it's totally free and takes most people less than an hour to apply.
Go to knowhowtogoky.org and join the conversation on Twitter with #MyFAFSAStory. This message is brought to you by the Pritchard Committee Student Voice Team and the Council on Post-Secondary Education.
I'm always listening to music on my phone, but I don't always have Wi-Fi. And I don't always have data to spare. With Next Radio, you have radio on your smartphone. There's no subscription, and it uses 3 times less battery and 10 times less data than streaming. With Next Radio, I can keep going and keep my music going.
With the Next Radio app, you can interact with radio and get your music on the go, all while using 3 times less battery and 10 times less data than streaming.
Next Radio.
When you hear the phrase, the hardest working real estate agent you'll ever meet, you know it's the Elizabeth Monarch Group of Keller Williams Realty Louisville. But don't take our word for it. Listen to the words of her actual clients, like repeat customer Jean Ann of Louisville.
Elizabeth went above and beyond for us. She not only helped us buy our first house, but we also used her to help us sell that first house and buy our dream house. She really is the hardest worker I've ever met.
Elizabeth Monarch knows our neighborhoods. Just ask Allison of St. Matthews.
We were from out of state and clueless. She found us our perfect house, and 4 years later, when we wanted to sell it, Elizabeth sold it in less than a week.
And Elizabeth Monarch really cares.
My wife and I felt as if Elizabeth was family after just a few meetings.
Any time of year is a good time to buy or sell with Elizabeth Monarch Group of Keller Williams Louisville. Search for all homes online at elizabethmonarchgroup.com.
You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We just are sharing our answered prayers. If you have one that you can share with us, call right now, 571-2428. I know God has answered a prayer in your life. I know our God, and He's in that business of answering prayers. And so if there are only 3 of us who have had answered prayers in this Kentuckiana area, shame on you for not praying to your God who could answer them. But I know that that's not true. 571-2428, 571-CHAT. You call right now. Gary's waiting on your call. What prayer can you remember? And maybe it's, the first prayer as a child that you remember that God answered for you when you were like, wow, He did hear my prayer. He really did. And maybe it was not a child. Maybe it was as an adult where you just knew. It's like, okay, and you were dumbfounded that He answered it. And, what I love about His answered prayers are, and I just talked about this in our Bible school class Sunday morning, because when I pray, I dot the I's and cross the T's. Because God deals in specifics. And He's like, hey, tell me what you want, but you tell me specifically what you want, and I'll get it done for you. I'll show you what I'm made of. I'll show you that I'm listening to everything you tell me. I promise you, I will come through for you. Matthew, thank you so much for calling.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Really great. It's funny. I just got in my car and turned on the radio and heard you, and all I heard was call and tell us about an answered prayer.
All right, and so you've had one, I can tell.
Yeah, like just now. But my family, really, we've been trying to, we've got 4 kids, 4 daughters, my wife and I, and, we've been trying to buy a house, but most importantly, been trying to get them into a Christian school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's pretty expensive, private school normally is. So, and, we've been talking with them, going back and forth with their financial department, and last night we just decided that we weren't going to be able to do it because the payments were too high. And then, they called me today, trying to see if we can work anything out. And they said, well, we might have somebody who's going to donate X amount of dollars, and that will get you to where you need.
Wow.
And I said, if that happens, go ahead and sign us up. I was like, because there's no question that God wants us here.